On the surface, Dennis Rader was a normal, church-oriented family man, but what lies beneath is a sinister fantasy life he lives under the guise of his alter ego, BTK. Dennis Rader, born in Pittsburgh, Kansas, of March 9, 1945, was one of multiple siblings and was raised in a traditional household. As a child, Rader was in programs for good children, and when he got older, was also a scout. He blended in well with the other normal kids, although, according to Rader himself, he always sensed something about him was different than others. Rader mentioned during one of his recordings that he liked to hang cats that he would capture during his childhood. He said there was a sexual element to seeing them that way, which might have started his habit of binding his victims. As Rader began to go through puberty, his sexual urges become stronger, and he would find himself to discover girly magazines, developing a fascination with underwear. He also would peep at women while tying himself up. He also began to do research on other serial killers of his time, wanting to be like them. Years later, Dennis Rader gets a job in Air Force. Then he leaves and comes back to Wichita, Kansas of Park City. Suddenly, Rader's sexual fantasies begin to get out of control, and he sets his sight on a woman named Julie Otero. He begins to stalk her, thinking of his plan of action. Then, on January 15, 1974, Dennis Rader snaps. He breaks into their home after cutting the phone line. He at first only wanted Julie Otero, but her husband and children were home as well, which he called collateral damage. He first strangles Julie and Joseph Otero, then goes after Joseph Jr. and kills him. Lastly, he goes to Julie Otero. He strangles her, killing her, and hangs her on a pipe in their basement. Seeing her like that excited Rader, which he then pleased himself and left the house. Later that day, the other two siblings find their family and call the police. Since technology wasn't as advanced as they hoped, they had no way of testing the semen left at the scene, and no leads either. It was a dead case. Then, on April 19, 1974, terror strikes again. Rader's next victim, Catherine and Kevin Bright. He breaks into her home but sees her brother is home as well. They both put up a fight. Kevin gets shot twice, once in the head, but he escapes to find help. Then, Rader, realizing he escaped, strangled Catherine and stabbed her. With the victim making it out and giving a description of Rader, he basically disappeared and stopped killing for 3 years. While on this hiatus, Rader sends notes to the police describing the Otero killing, saying this monster inside him called BTK, which stood for Bind, Torture, and Kill, is who killed them and will kill again. Then, in 1977, he comes back and kills Shirley Vian and Nancy Fox. Dennis Rader had described Nancy Fox's killing to be perfect because everything went as planned. He stalked her, got information on her schedule, broke into her house, waited for her, tied her up, tortured her into feeling helpless, then killed her. He even calls in the homicide as if celebrating the kill. After Nancy Fox's killing, Rader and his wife began making a family, and the BTK case runs cold once again, until he begins to be attention hungry. A month after Nancy Fox's killing, he gets fed up with not getting the recognition he thought he deserved. He sends a letter to the local TV news station describing her killing, also saying, "How many people do I have to kill for people to know me?" They took the bait, and now all of Wichita, Kansas knew BTK was responsible. Rader enjoyed his cat-and-mouse game with the police and continued to send letters describing how he killed his victims, as well as memorabilia he stole from his victims. Then again, BTK goes cold for years. During the time Dennis Rader wasn't killing for years on end, He would go back to a crime scene wearing the lingerie he stole from his victims, tie himself up, and take pictures of himself, all while wearing a feminine mask. The years passed, and it's now 1991, January 19th, and Dolores Davis is killed. Once again, bonded, tortured, and killed. The police know just who did it: the BTK killer. Rader begins his cat-and-mouse game with the police once again, but decides to step it up a notch. Now it's early 2000s and technology has advanced, making the cops more prepared and ahead of the game. Rader tells the police he left items and a letter once again. The cops find it and also ask for security footage to see if they can identify who. Clues to who is behind the BTK murders. They come across the name Dennis Rader. They need sufficient evidence that this was their guy, so they ran the plate which was registered to him, but they needed more, so they asked his daughter for a DNA sample to compare to the semen found at the crime scenes, and the DNA test shown that they were related. They had finally, after 30 long, sufferable years, caught Wichita, Kansas's BTK killer on February 25th of 2005.